my name's Dawn Dickens and I work for the Manx Wildlife Trust. We're a charity that looks after the wildlife on the Isle of Man. And obviously in these very strange times, we're all looking for something to do. So I'm doing these videos just as a little something extra for you all and something to look out for and to share my passion as well of wildlife. That there's a lot of things that are out there that are absolutely fantastic on our island. So hopefully at the end of this video you'll have learnt a little bit more, you'll have gained a little bit more information, and also you'll have had a bit of fun as well. Okay, all these videos are going up on our website, which is www.manxwt.org.uk. The videos will be up there, and any of the sheets that I show or links to other websites that I mentioned will also be on there. Also, if you go onto that website, if you go on to Discover Our Island, the tab at the top, there'll be a drop-down menu and it'll say Stuck at Home, and that's where all these things will be. On social media, if you're still going out there and enjoying your daily walk, if you find something fantastic, some lovely wildlife you just want to share with us, if you use the hashtag Closer to Nature. The other great exciting news is the Wildlife Trust produces for its members biannually a magazine called Manx Nature, and we're going to make that available online, especially for this unusual period really that we're all in, just to help us through, and it gives you something a little bit extra to read and find out a little bit about what the Manx Wildlife Trust and does and why we're so committed to looking after the wildlife here. So this morning I thought, well, I've been out on a lot of walks and I've been finding a lot of feathers around, so I thought, what a fantastic thing, this is a particularly lovely one to talk about. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the history of feathers and also become a bit of a feather detective. Okay, so what are feathers made of? They're made of something called keratin. Now keratin, we have keratin. We have it makes our hair, it makes our fingernails. But the keratin that makes up feathers is just slightly different to ours, and we'll go on, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So what I wanted to show you is, this is how feathers actually grow. Feathers are dead, they're not alive, but at this growth stage, it's the cells around them that are making the actual keratin and making that structure. So it starts off as like a little pimple on a bird, gets a little bit bigger. And inside there, the feather's forming, but it's curled up really, really tight. It's covered by quite a tough skin layer called a sheath. And what happens, that sheath gradually drops off and that feather gradually uncurls. Okay, and as you can see, by the end, you've got a fully formed feather. It's still attached to the bird right down at the bottom. When we look at feathers a little bit more, we'll see what that part of the feather is called. Okay, so I talked about the keratin being a bit different to our keratin, and the keratin is something called keratin B, and it actually is more closely related to reptiles. So birds are more closely related to reptiles than anything else. Now, there were some reptiles around a long, long time ago called dinosaurs, and this is really interesting because some dinosaurs actually did have feathers on them. They're called theropods. Okay, here's a picture of one. It looks a bit like a crazy chicken, doesn't it really? But you can see it's incredibly long legs. The bone structure of these dinosaurs is very, very similar as well to birds, so there's a very close link. But those funny little bumpy feathers, the feathers are related to the scales. So not only were dinosaurs had scales, but they also, some of them had feathers on as well. And they've been finding actually feathered dinosaurs in China for a bit. And some of them are really freaky looking. You need to go online and follow this up, guys, because it's amazing. Okay. So why would you have feathers? What's the point of having feathers? Well, obviously the first thing is they can fly. It makes birds able to fly. Incredibly good skill. And it's amazing how they actually do it and how subtle just a change in the wing shape just gets them to swoop. Also for warmth, okay, keeping the body warm. We know that because a long time ago they used to use feathers in quilts and things, and it just kept really warm, all that lovely air trapped between all the feathers. Fantastic. The other thing is, they actually help with the streamlining of the bird, okay? So those feathers lie down and help that air flow over the bird as it's flying, okay? And the other thing, fantastic, they use them for display. You think of those peacocks with those fantastic shimmering tail feathers, okay? Go online, have a look, look up at all the different bird displays, because they are absolutely amazing what they get up to. Okay, so what are the parts of a feather? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold up this feather here and I'm going to talk to you about it. So this bit here would actually be in the flesh of the bird down at the bottom here. This is called the calamus, okay. The long, strong bit that runs right the way up, okay, it's called the rachis, okay, and it's very, very strong. It helps form a structure to the feather. And then you get these tiny little lines here that are coming off it. These are called barbs. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that feather down. I've got something here, okay. This is called a dynamite. It's like a little USB microscope, and they are absolutely brilliant, really, really fantastic. And I'm just going to put this on the feather, okay, and just focus it up, and then I'm going to just take it so that you can see what I'm seeing from my microscope, okay, because you can see that those barbs are split into barbels, okay, so here we go, there you go, that's all the barbels, so you're looking at that on the microscope. Okay. Now, the most important thing is, if you have feathers, you don't want the air to get through if you want to become a streamlined shape. So if there was a lot of force on this, the feathers would actually break quite easily, like this one just has here, okay, it's very easy to tear. But actually, can you see there, it just stuck back together again. The barbels actually have tiny little hooks on that all hook together and make like a solid sheet, and this is what's needed for the actual flight. They don't want the air to get through, okay, because it loses a lovely aerodynamic shape. So it's almost like Velcro. Think of Velcro with the little hooks and that, and it keeps it all together. So incredible design on them. So on a bird, there are different types of feathers. Okay, by the end of this, I've got a bit of a challenge that you can download. So we're going to look at this little dude first. Can you see him here? Very, very fluffy, okay. You can still see the central bit at the middle, but no structure to it at all. Very light and fluffy. These are called downy feathers, down feathers, okay. And they're there to keep the bird nice and snug and warm. There's two types of down feathers. The first one, when they're chicks and they first hatch, they don't have any of the flight feathers, anything like that. They have what we call natal downy feathers. And then just like when you lose your milk teeth, they'll lose some of those downy feathers, and then these adult downy feathers will grow. So they're there to keep the bird warm, and they're hidden amongst other feathers as well. You get more of these actually on the chest of the bird, because the biggest muscles of the bird are the ones that are used to flap its wings, and they come into the chest. They've got a massive sternum bone that all these muscles are attached to. You lose heat from your biggest muscles the quickest. So that's why they need to keep those warm, really, really warm. Okay. So that one, down feather. This one here, okay, it's called a semi-plume. And can you see, it's almost getting there to a feather. You can just see that bit there, but there's still lots and lots of fluff. So it's the same thing again. They're there to keep the bird warm, but they're just giving a little bit of shape to that bird now. This one, if I hold up the O one, you can see there's a lot more of what we expect feathers to look like now. This is called a contour feather. So the fluffy bits there, it's keeping the bird warm, but this is now helping give that bird its shape. And you find a lot of these on the back of the bird, so that they're giving a shape to the bird and helping it become streamlined. And the one we all know, this is a wing feather. They're a lot stronger. You can feel it, okay, when you try to flex the feather, sorry, and it really is quite tough. The other big clue about wing feathers is, can you see the rachis here is offset to one side. This is the leading edge of the feather, so this is the front end of the wing, okay? And it actually, if you feel it, touch it very lightly, this vein part is a lot stronger than the trailing edge here, okay? So flight feathers, really, really important. And they actually go straight into the bones of the bird, right? There are different flight feathers. We have primaries and secondaries. So the primaries are on the outside, okay, and they're the ones used mainly for flight, for lifting up birds. The secondaries are more for gliding and landing. So you know when you're on an aircraft and it comes into land and it drops the flaps to break the airflow over the wing. This is the sort of role that they play. You can also have tertiaries. Okay, so here on this one, we've got the primaries, secondaries, and then tertiaries, just here. You can actually tell the age of some birds by how many primaries, how many secondary feathers they have. People like Aaron Sapkoff on the Calf the Man, that's how he can get an age on some of the birds that he does ringing with. Okay. And this lovely one that I keep coming back to, this is obviously a pheasant. These stripes are called bars, okay? This is a tail feather. We can tell because this central bit is right up the middle of the feather. Now on this one, it's very pointed, but often they're very blunt, almost fan-shaped. Okay, so that's a tail feather. And then there's a very strange looking feather. I'm just going to show you here. What? See this? That doesn't even look like a feather. Look at that tiny little tuft at the end. This is called a phyloplume, and what it does is where it goes into the body, it's very, very sensitive, and it helps the bird adjust the shape of the wing. So it's more like a sensory feather. Then if you're a swallow or a house martin and you're flying around, you're trying to catch flying insects, would it just be awful if whap, one got you in the eye? So they have these very bristly feathers around their eyes for protection, and literally they don't seem to have any barbs at all on them. So just to go over those all again, okay, these are the different sorts of feathers that we have. Down feathers, semi-plume, contour, wing, and tail feathers. Down all over the body, there to keep it nice and warm. Contour feathers, they're there to give a shape to the bird. Loads of them on the back of the bird. They are everywhere on the bird as well. Wing feathers, can you remember? This is to one side, this central bit here is offset to one side, okay? Tail feathers right down the middle. Now, we have to look after our bodies, don't we? Every morning you get out, you give yourself a wash. You don't want to be dirty, you don't want, because otherwise you'll get infections and things like that. Birds have got to look after themselves as well. So how do they look after themselves? When we're washing, we use our hands, soap, water, fantastic. But if you're a bird, you haven't got hands. So you've got to use your beak. So they use their beak to actually preen. So when a bird is clean, we call it preening, okay? What they'll do is you'll see them reach down and they actually go right down towards their bottom, because there's a special gland there that gives off oil. It's called the preen gland. And they activate it by nibbling at it with their beak, get some oil on it, and then they'll run their beak with the oil along the feather. Why do they do this? Well, it's a bit like your mum puts moisturiser on in the morning to keep her face nice and supple like this, okay? It makes the feathers, it keeps them nice and moist so that they're still flexible. It also helps align the feathers, because sometimes, you know what it's like if you've been out in the wind and your hair's everywhere. birds are there, if the wind blows, it'll make all their feathers ruffle up, so they have to smooth them back down, a bit like brushing your hair, okay? The other thing they do, that when they're running their beak along, they take off that sheath. Remember we were talking about how the actual feathers form, that they're inside, curled up inside a sheath? That sheath material, that sort of tough outer skin, can come off with the beak, right? But there's other ways birds can look after themselves. Because birds tend to get a lot of parasites, that's little insects living on them. So thrushes, things like that, they'll do something called anting. So they'll go and find an ant's nest and sit on it, or even pick some up and sort of brush them along their bodies. Not really sure why they do it. We think it's probably the formic acid that will probably kill off some of the parasites. You might see loads and loads of little sparrows having a bit of a dust bath when it's really, really warm. That's another way of getting rid of parasites, okay? You might see them actually stretching. You might see birds doing a lot of stretching, you know, putting out their wings like that. What they're doing is actually helping all their feathers to realign, okay? They might do a bit of scratching with their legs, okay, and reach areas that they can't get to with their beak. Actually, on some birds, there's actually bald areas where feathers never grow because they just can't get to them to preen them and look after them, okay? And the other thing they'll often do is sun themselves, sit in nice warm sunshine. And what that does is makes it all a bit more runnier. If you get a bit of butter, put it on your windowsill. Please put it on a saucer because it's going to get very messy otherwise. Leave it in the sun and you'll see that it goes a lot more runny and oily looking. So that helps them spread the oil through their feathers. That oil as well also helps them waterproof. But not all birds have use oil. Pigeons in particular, they tend to use like dust. They have a dust coating on their wings to try and reduce the parasites and keep the wings in good condition. The other really interesting thing is this very strange picture here is actually the leading edge, the front edge of the wing of an owl, and it's got this lovely fringing on. Why would it have fringing like that? Well, if this is an owl's wings, don't forget they're after that mouse, and a mouse can hear really well. If it was flapping around, oh, can you hear that? You can hear that paper moving. If you then fringe the leading edge, okay, a bit like, it's just like this. So just cut little slots. You can try this for yourself at home, okay? Oh, and the other thing about owls is they're not waterproof. They are not waterproof at all. And the very, very sad thing is, if when they've got their little fledglings and the chicks are just hatched out, if it's really, really wet weather, we have a lot of mortality, a lot of death rates in owls because they can't get out to fly around and do their hunting when it's really wet, because they just go really soggy and they can't fly. So that's not a really good thing. So, okay, here we go again. Wow, can you hear the difference there? Just by cutting this fringing, we've stopped that real flapping noise. Isn't that amazing that owls have got that ability to do that? Okay, the other incredible bird that I think is amazing what they do with their feathers are shags, because shags, they're the black birds out on your beach. You see them right out and all of a sudden they dive like that, don't they? And pop down and you're like, where are they gone? And you're waiting for ages and ages, and then the head pops back up because they've been hunting. Big problem. If you are a diving bird and you've got all those layers of feathers, okay, those layers of feathers stacked on top of each other, can you see? In between I've got a bit of a gap, a bit of air, okay? So if you're going down, a bit like, you know, when you get a balloon, you try and push it under the water, it just keeps popping up. That air will make you want to be more buoyant and pop up. So they've got this really, really clever way of weighting down their body a bit more when they're in the water so they can dive down. The bottom edge of the feathers on the wings are not waterproof. So what happens is when they're in the water, they soak up the water. That adds more weight, and so they can dive down. How clever is that? Just awesome. So I'm just going to go over again the different feathers the birds, because I did say to you I was going to set you a bit of a challenge. So here we are, okay. So don't forget, you've got the wing feathers where the middle part is offset to one side. Tail feathers is right down the middle. Contour feathers down the back of the bird. Downy feathers are hidden amongst all those other feathers, okay? Just like the semi-plume. So, this is my challenge. When you go on your daily walk, start collecting feathers, okay? Then you can go onto our website, download this image of a bird, okay? Get yourself some glue. This one, can you remember, offset to one side, so it's got to be a wing feather. So I would glue that where the wing is. So that's my wing feather. Very fluffy, can you remember? Downy feather, you're right, okay? And we said there's loads of them more on the chest of the bird, so I would stick that feather just there, okay? This one looks a lot more like a feather, just a little bit of downy looking feather on it. Contour feather, back of the bird. So gradually, each time you go out, pick up another feather, add it to your bird. It'd be a bit crazy looking because it'd be lots and lots of different birds, feathers, I imagine, not just for one bird. But build up a lovely, lovely picture of a bird. Okay. The other challenge that I have for you, if you get yourself a feather, one of the either a wing feather or a tail feather, and it needs to be a big feather. So this one has actually come from a goose. Okay, you will need to ask your parents for help because you will need to use a knife. And what we're going to do, we are going to make our very own quill pen. So what you need to do, can you see the very end of this, okay, the canvas? We're just going to cut off a slice, okay? Get your mums or your dads to do this, okay? So make sure you've got a chopping board and we're just going to hold it down. When you make that first cut, make it really gradual. Don't do a sudden drop. You want it to be gradual, okay? So I'm just going to make sure you've got a really sharp knife as well. Okay, there. So now, I don't know if you can see that. I've just cut a little slice out of it. What I'm going to do now, I need to make like a nib, okay? What you can do is you can make that nib a bit more pointed because sometimes when you cut it off, it's very blunt at the end of the feather and you don't really want that. You want it a little bit more pointed. So I'm just going to cut this to a bit more of a point. One side, second side. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a little slot down the long side. So here it is, there's a slope on mine. I'm going to cut a slot at the bottom here, okay? And that will help me to write. So I just cut a slot, that's all I need to do. Now I'm ready to write. So I've got some ink here. It's very hard to get hold of ink these days, but I did have some old cartridges from cartridge pens a long time ago, so I'm just going to dip that in. Here we go. And I've got a bit of paper. Now, the other thing you can do is if you don't have ink, don't worry. Okay, do not worry, because you can try again with Ribena. So I'm just going to write my pen here. I don't know if you can see here. Just here. Oh yes. And now I've made myself a lovely quill pen. Have a go. I've also done another one, just in case that one didn't work. Okay, and I did try it with Ribena. And hey, it works. You can also do the same if you get hold of berries. Why don't you try making your own ink? You could try blackberries are out at the moment. I usually make blackberry ink, but maybe blueberries might work, or maybe raspberries. Just get some, squash them up, put them through a sieve, put a little bit of vinegar in, and then see if you can write with that ink. Have a little experiment. Have a little try. Don't forget, let us know, post up on our Facebook page when you do your writing, post up pictures of your quill pen, post up pictures of your birds with your feathers stuck on. That would be absolutely awesome. Get out there, enjoy them, and be in awe that birds have got this ability to grow all these different sorts of feathers and all the different jobs that they have. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye.